Have you ever caught yourself saying something like, I should have known better? Or maybe, why can't I just get it together? Or everyone else seems to manage. What the hell is wrong with me? That voice, that inner monologue, it might sound like it's trying to help you do better, but really, it's doing the opposite. My name is Sara Kelly. I'm an ADHD coach for late diagnosed, high achieving women. And today we're talking about how negative self-talk doesn't just make you feel bad. It actually fuels shame, rewires your brain in unhelpful ways, and keeps you stuck in patterns that don't serve you. Let's start with something that you've probably heard in your own head. I'm such a mess. One of my clients, let's call her Andrea, said this almost every time we spoke. She's brilliant. She's a senior analyst. She's raising 2 kids. But if she misplaced her keys or forgot a meeting, her immediate response was self-blame. And she thought that being hard on herself was motivating. But what it actually did was drain her energy, ramp up anxiety, and reinforce the idea that she was always failing. And the more she repeated that inner dialogue, the more her brain believed it. So why do we struggle so much with shame and negative self-talk in the first place? For many ADHD women, the roots go deep. We've spent our lives trying to keep up with systems that weren't built for our brains. We were the ones who forgot our homework, or spaced out in class, or even got labeled as disorganized or lazy. And every time we achieved big things, there was often a sense of, yeah, but I was late again. Yeah, but I can't keep my house in order. Yeah, but I forgot that one thing. And over time, those little moments stack up. And instead of seeing them as symptoms of a differently wired brain, we internalize them as character flaws. That's where shame takes root. Shame says that there's something wrong with me. It's different from guilt, which says I made a mistake. Shame is personal and it feels permanent. And once it takes hold, the inner critic gets loud. Here's what's actually happening in the brain. When you talk to yourself in harsh, critical ways, your brain registers it as a threat. And that triggers the limbic system of the brain, the part responsible for emotion and survival. Your nervous system goes into a high state of stress, and your prefrontal cortex, which helps with planning, decision-making, and regulation, goes offline. In other words, the more you criticize yourself, the harder it becomes to think clearly or take effective action. And because the ADHD brain already struggles with executive functions, this kind of internal pressure doesn't help you perform better. It's absolutely counterintuitive and it makes things worse. So what starts out as a moment of stress becomes a shame spiral. You make a mistake, you beat yourself up for it, your brain floods with cortisol. You get overwhelmed, foggy, or completely shut down. And then you don't do the thing, which then confirms the belief that you're failing. That is the essence of a negative feedback loop, and it is exhausting. And if you've been stuck in it for years, it's naturally going to feel like your default setting. But there is some good news that I want to share with you. Your brain is neuroplastic, and that means you can change. You can create new neural pathways. You can actually teach your brain a new way to respond. But first, you have to notice the old pattern. Now, before we talk about what this actually looks like, I just want to say, if this kind of inner dialogue feels familiar and you're ready to explore how coaching could help you interrupt those shame spirals and actually work with your brain instead of against it, there is a link in the description of this video to book a free consult with me. No pressure, just a real conversation about what's going on and what kind of support might help. So how do we start changing these deeply ingrained thought patterns? Begin by name the voice. Start noticing when the inner critic shows up. Give it a name if it helps. Something to separate it from your true self. You might say something like, oh, that's my perfectionistic part again. Or maybe you could say, that's the old story kicking in. The goal here isn't to fight the voice, it's to create distance. To recognize it as part of your brain trying to protect you, even if it's doing a clumsy job. Practice compassionate curiosity. Instead of asking, what's wrong with me? Try, what made this hard today? This small shift takes you out of judgment and into problem solving. And it opens the door to learning. And it helps your nervous system feel safer. which means your thinking brain, prefrontal cortex, can come back online. Rewire with repetition. Every time you interrupt a shame spiral and choose a kinder response, you're actually reinforcing that new neural pathway. And at first, it's going to feel super fake and really awkward. But over time, it becomes easier. You might start with something like, "This was hard and I'm still learning. I messed up, but that doesn't make me a failure." Or write this one down: "My brain needs support, not punishment." Those aren't just affirmations. They're tools to rewire your brain. Notice your inputs, because the way that you talk to yourself is shaped by the voices around you. Pay attention to what you're consuming. Are you following people who make you feel like you're behind? Are you surrounded by unrealistic standards? Your environment matters. If you want to change a story, surround yourself with voices that model compassion, not perfection. Reframe the idea of motivation. So many of us think that we need to be hard on ourselves to get things done. But shame is not a sustainable motivator. It might work in the short term, but it leaves you depleted. Try asking, what would it look like to motivate from care instead of criticism? Not, "You screwed this up again," but let's figure out what would help this go smoother the next time. Motivation built on shame feels like pressure, whereas motivation built on care feels like support. Talk back to the internalized stories. A lot of negative self-talk isn't even your voice. It's a patchwork of things that you've heard growing up. You might have been told at some point in your life that you're too sensitive or that you're too much. I heard that one a ton as a kid. Or perhaps, "Why can't you be more organized?" Or, "She has so much potential if only she would just apply herself more." Start identifying those scripts and then ask, do I actually believe this? Is this true? And is this helpful? Because when you start challenging those old stories, your brain begins to wire new ones. Track your spiral triggers. Shame spirals often show up in specific moments: after making a mistake, during transitions, or when you're already tired or overstimulated. Start noting when they happen and what's going on around them. This builds awareness, and that's the first step to change. Pair repair with self-kindness. When something goes wrong, we often jump into fixing mode. But before you problem solve, try validating first. "That was a tough moment. No wonder I felt overwhelmed." Then, once your nervous system calms down, you can figure out the next step. Use a mantra as a pattern breaker. Pick a phrase that speaks to your inner critic in the moment. Something like, "I'm not behind, I'm building at my own pace." Or, "My worth isn't measured by productivity." Keep it visible, repeat it, let it become the louder voice. Build a shame recovery plan. Know what helps you recalibrate. Maybe it's movement, a song, stepping outside, or texting a friend. Have a few go-to tools when the spiral hits, because this is not about being perfect. You need a path back to steadiness. Changing the way that you talk to yourself isn't about pretending that everything is fine. It's about creating the conditions for your brain to feel safe, supported, and capable. And that's when change becomes possible. Now, if this is hitting home for you and you're tired of that inner voice running the show, I would love to talk with you. There's a link in the description below to book a free call with me. We'll look at what's been keeping you stuck and how we can create new patterns that actually help you move forward. Because you don't need to be harder on yourself. You need support that works for your brain, and you deserve that. Thank you so much for watching today. I hope that you learned something. Like, subscribe, share, and I will see you in the next one.